The Right Side with Doug Billings.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here. Last night, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina died suddenly at age 71 after what his office called a brief and sudden illness. It was cardiac arrest. He had a heart attack. He had just returned home from his 10th wartime trip to Ukraine, and within hours, the Iranian regime propaganda accounts were out on social media. They released a grotesque Lego-style video claiming that they assassinated him, complete with a hitman, cardiac arrest, and a checklist that has other people on it, including President Trump, Ben Shapiro, Laura Loomer, and many others. You've got Russian ideologue Alexander Dugin. He's already blaming Israel for it. That's Kookville. And across social media, this is what's perhaps the most shocking, or at least right up there with the death itself. On social media, you have people, some waving the conservative banner and claiming they're one of us, are posting, things like, "Good riddance. It's about time." So let me be crystal clear right now, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone taking joy in the death of anyone, Republican, Democrat, stranger, or enemy, is under demonic spirits. They have no salvation. And if they claim the name conservative, they're not. Period. Full stop. So this is not a eulogy, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a fact-based examination of Graham's final trip, the open assassination calls from Iran and Russia, and the spiritual sickness that celebrates death. Ladies and gentlemen, the right side is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being here around the world. We appreciate you watching on social media. And I remind you again, YouTube, at The Right Side, Doug Billings is where you need to go and subscribe. And wherever you're watching this right now, X or Truth Social, Facebook, Rumble, wherever it may be, subscribe, follow, and share. Please share. It helps get the algorithm ignited, and it puts the truth in front of more people. All right. As almost all of you have undoubtedly heard, on July 10th and 11th, Senator Lindsey Graham made his 10th visit to Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion of that country, and he met with President Vladimir Zelenskyy in Kiev. And they talked about things like strengthening the sanctions on Russia, Patriot missile production licensing, building on the Ankara-NATO summit agreements that we heard just last week from Trump's visit to Turkey. And they talked about American partnership with Ukrainian defense industries. Graham then toured Skyfall and their secret drone production facility. Okay, he inspected Vampire heavy bomber drones, Shrike FPV drones, and the P-1 Sun Shahad interceptor drones. And Graham called Ukrainian drone technology among the most advanced in the world, and he's right. And he urged a deeper United States partnership. Okay, so that's the visit. He left Kiev on Saturday, yesterday, and hours after returning home, he was dead. The official statement from his office was a brief and sudden illness. Okay, and reports are now beginning to confirm that he had a heart attack. Obviously, no autopsy or toxicology details released yet. No official evidence of any kind of foul play has been made public yet. But the timing here, ladies and gentlemen, this is not imaginary. I mean, really, Graham was one of the strongest voices in the Senate for crushing Russian energy revenue and for maximum pressure on Iran. He advised President Trump on both of those issues. He just secured White House buy-in for a major Russia sanctions package. Okay, so that is the factual timeline of events and some of the content therein. 5 days before Graham's death, during the funeral procession for the slain Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, the IRGC, the Iranian National Guard, Revolutionary Guard, They had linked crowds and, they got state media displays, all coordinated, all forced to take place. These people on the streets of Iran were forced to take to the streets, believe me. But they were they were carrying with them these target posters. You saw these, I think. Red crosshairs on the faces of President Trump, Senator Lindsey Graham, and then some of the influencer class out there, Ben Shapiro, Laura Loomer, just to name a few. Miriam Adelson was also one of the ones targeted with one of these posters. And the text underneath the posters, sooner or later, your heads will roll. All right. So typical apocalyptic behavior from Iran and what it represents. Lindsey Graham himself posted about the IRGC threat and about these posters. Laura Loomer has done so as well. And the Iranian state television just last night began to celebrate Graham's death with the words, and I'm quoting, "Lindsey Graham is dead and in hell. We congratulate the Iranian nation." And then came the IRGC's Lego Resistance Front, all right? It's a video that was released today, the day after Lindsey's death. It was an animated hit on Graham's home, and it induced cardiac arrest, the ambulance, and a checklist that was displayed, striking Lindsey off that list, with Laura Loomer, President Trump, Ben Shapiro next up. All right, so that's the Iranian side of this. On the Russian side, you have Putin's longtime advisor and ideologue Alexander Dugin, who's publicly called for Graham to be flattened. Okay, he 4 months ago, he made a real big stir in certain circles about calling for all of this, the end of Lindsey Graham. He tweeted it out. Now, he later deleted the tweet. But Dugin's been interviewed by people like Tucker Carlson, and he regularly praises Tucker, for example, while at the same time promoting the destruction of the American-led order of things. So today, Dugin is already blaming Israel for Graham's death while calling for the Trump assassination at the same time. Russia state media, they have for a very long time treated Lindsey Graham as a primary enemy because of his Ukraine advocacy and the sanctions against Russia, okay? Those aren't conspiracy theories that were just invented last night. These are documented public calls for murder by state actors and their mouthpieces, okay? Issued days and months before the senator dropped dead of a quote-unquote sudden illness after returning home from the war zone that he was helping to arm. It's a question. I mean, is it proven that poisoning or assassination really happened here? No, not yet. It's too early. The FBI and toxicology reports have got to answer those questions. And we'd better hope that the FBI, I know that the FBI is currently at Lindsey Graham's house, so there is an investigation going on. We need to see an autopsy and toxicology reports, absolutely. But ignoring the open threats to the other people that are on these lists and on these posters, that's willful blindness. We can't be blind to the threat that either Russia or Iran or both are presenting. Remember, Russia and Iran are friends. So now the ugliest part of all this. Now, Lindsey Graham's death is bad enough, but it gets worse because across X and Instagram, Facebook, and other places, certain left-wing corners, and shamefully, some corners claiming to be America First and conservative, the posts are now beginning to pour in. And they're in the vein of things like, good riddance. Warmonger got what he deserved. One less neocon. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care if you hated Lindsey Graham's foreign policy. I don't care. I don't care if you called him a rhino or a war hawk. I called him a rhino. I didn't call him a rhino. I called him a war hawk. I've called him a neocon. I think he was too thirsty to get into conflict instead of trying to get out of them. But taking joy in the death of an elected member of the United States government and fellow American and a citizen, that's demonic possession, ladies and gentlemen. It's the spirit of murder. It's the same spirit that danced in the streets after October 7th and that celebrated Charlie Kirk's death and that's going to celebrate the next death and so on and so forth. Catholic teaching, Christian teaching is unambiguous. Life is a gift from God. And I spoke with a few of my Catholic mentors and spiritual advisors. They agree. No matter what your position is about politics or the people in it, life is a gift from God. Murder is intrinsically evil. Hello? And celebrating murder, even of an enemy or someone who you didn't care for, places you in open rebellion against the author of life. I mean, Jesus told us to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. He didn't say celebrate when they drop dead of heart attacks. So if you're positioning, good riddance and then claiming the name of Christ on or the mantle of conservatism, you're a fraud. You have no salvation while that spirit rules inside of you. I think you got to repent. You should delete the posts where you've said such nonsense. Get on your knees and pray. True conservatives defend the dignity of every human life. I don't care how evil that person is who possesses the life that still has the divine spark of the divine in it. We still defend the dignity of life, born and unborn, and friend and foe alike. Life itself is precious. We do not become what we hate. Lindsey Graham was a flawed man. Hello, every person is a flawed person. We can debate whether or not we liked his politics. Absolutely. He was a relentless advocate for American strength, for Israel's survival, and for arming free people against Russian imperialism, and for crushing the Iranian regime's nuclear and terror ambition. He was one of, and you'll see Iranian people on X. I've got a couple of Iranian friends in America who are totally and 100% against the current regime, and they want the Iranian people to rise up and take their country back. They want Persia to rise again. And they've lost a good friend in Lindsey Graham. They're very distraught because he was one of the most vocal supporters for the Iranian people. Like him or not, that's just the truth. So Lindsey Graham had just returned from the front lines of the fight against Putin and was working hand in glove with President Trump on sanctions that would have hit the Russian war machine very, very hard. So if foreign adversaries believe that they can eliminate American senators with impunity, through poison, through Novichok-style agents or sudden illnesses, then no one's safe. Not Trump, not Vance, not Loomer, not you, not me. And I think we have to demand immediate full toxicology and autopsy transparency. The FBI, the Department of Justice investigation into foreign threats against Graham, Trump, and all of the rest, need to be transparent. Escalation against the Iranian regime and its Russian enablers underneath the IRGC. We've got to destroy it. We've got to fight to destroy that evil apocalyptic regime. And we've got to demand, maybe above all else, ladies and gentlemen, spiritual clarity. Because celebration of death is not MAGA. It is not America First. It's demonic. Pray for the Graham family. Pray for our president. And if you've celebrated anybody's death today, delete the post and repent before God. This is The Right Side, ladies and gentlemen. We tell the truth, we don't flinch, and we never dance on graves over here. I do ask that you please like, share, and follow. Subscribe over on YouTube at The Right Side, Doug Billings, and please prayerfully consider donating to the program at dougbillings.us, because we are in this thing together, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.